use your other speakers, which they took yesterday when they took my computer. So that's what I was trying to find, but I'll be okay. Sign language, I do know if we need to get to that point, we can try to throw that in and we'll go from there. And I do have 11:30. However, you'll tell me who else we're waiting on. I see Jeff joined us. Hello, Jeff.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We are live streaming now. And recording.
And you said Dave would be a little late.
Dave's coming on now.
Yeah. Dave's logging in now.
Dave's logging in now, okay. Anybody else we'd be waiting on then?
We were expecting Virginia, but I don't see her yet.
I don't either. I think I can see everybody. And let's see if I can do this over here. It makes it look like I'm actually looking at everybody.
Mike,
Yes.
before the meeting starts, congratulations and thanks for all you do.
Oh, thank you, Karen. I tell everybody I was out of town. I was actually down in West Virginia, and my emails was going crazy, which it does normally, so I really didn't pay attention to it. And it was later in the afternoon when I was finally digging through email that I was like, oh, wow, I did not know anything about it. So it was a nice surprise. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I enjoy it. I truly do. So Dave, again, we are seeing your computer screen, I believe. Are you with us, Dave? And it looks like Virginia joined also. There we go.
Awesome.
I am ready to get started if we believe we're in that ready state. Maybe I'm getting speakers now, possibly. David, hello.
Should I go ahead and try now? Do you want me to share my screen?
Is Marcia off screen? Is that who you keep talking to, or are you just talking to yourself, Rebecca?
I don't know how to answer that.
Hey, there you are.
All right, well, you guys all should have reports, but I'm also going to try sharing my screen, which is kind of a predecessor to next month's meeting. So we're just going to practice this month so you can pay attention to the screen, or you can pay attention to whatever reports you're looking at. Everybody see my dog?
I do.
For now.
I do.
How do I?
Bear with me, I'm trying to get sound, so you can yell at me right now and I won't hear you.
There.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Is that Virginia?
Okay. Virginia Harris, Streetsboro.
Hi. So can everybody see the whole screen as an Excel spreadsheet, or are there faces on the right-hand side?
I see the spreadsheet.
I see the spreadsheet.
Okay. We ready?
I moved the faces to the bottom of the screen.
Good. I think, Mike, we're ready to go. We lost him. I think he's getting speakers. Actually, yeah, we lost them all together. If they can't, no, not for me, that's fine. There we go.
Okay, did you miss me?
We did. We were
Well,
talking to
go
you,
through there.
gone.
What do I need to do? One step away.
Zoom.
What's that?
You'll be able to get to your settings on your computer. You up here. Exit full screen. And then click on your speakers. There. And change it to that maybe? Yeah, so you had, there's speakers in these.
All right, we're going to try this. I'm sorry, everybody, for the delay.
Can you
But
hear me better?
I told well, no, it's still going through the wrong speaker, but I'll work on that as you guys are speaking, and I'll be able to hopefully work it out. Let's see. But keep talking and we're good to go. Again, I apologize. I told Scott, who was our technology expert, that I was going to blame it on him because he actually hit the power button when he was trying to plug my speakers in and turned everything off. So
Duly blamed, but I need you to start the meeting.
I will officially start the meeting, and then in this virtual world that we have, we'll do the call to order, and you guys can decide how you want to do that. We've got everybody that I have heard from except Virginia.
I'm here.
Virginia, there, I can hear you barely. That's me though, not you. And David's with us now, so we should be good. Is that okay for roll call?
Jeff Childers is here from Suffield.
Thank you.
Okay, that's fine with me. We'll go ahead with staff then. I'm obviously here.
Rebecca Schrader for PARTA.
Claudia Amrine, PARTA.
All right, this isn't working.
Kelly Jurish, PARTA.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. This is so dysfunctional because I can't hear who's saying what at this point, nor do I have anything coming out of half my speakers right now. So in the interest that I'm going to assume that everybody is okay at this point, and we're going to start the meeting, hopefully, because I know Rebecca said you can hear me.
Yeah.
So we will do, we have no guest communications. Is there any old business to start with, Rebecca?
Not that I'm aware of.
Hearing none, then we'll move on to new business.
Which would be the reports. Would you like me to?
Let's start with the reports. That'd be great. Start with the PARTA Finance Report A.
Okay, so they are up on the screen, and if anybody has any questions, please just interrupt me, jump in. You can see from Farebox, we are starting to get back some of the Farebox, not as much as we have in the past for this time period, but our ridership is slowly growing. Is that accurate? Okay.
Excuse me, Rebecca, I have no paperwork.
Can you see the screen?
No, down in the corner there. Wait a minute. Not really. No.
Your board report hasn't come yet?
No.
Okay.
It's a little something down there, but I can't see it very well. Sorry for interrupting.
We will have to try and figure something out for you for the budget meeting. But so I will try and describe them as much as I can.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so Farebox is, and agency cash grants are, as expected, under budget for the month. For the year, compared to the budget, there is a deficit variance of $118,000 for Farebox and ticket sales. And for agency cash grants, there's a deficit of $88,000. KSU revenues also has a deficit of $586,000 for the year. Again, that is all due to our decrease in ridership because of COVID. Our state reimbursement for fuel has pretty much stayed on track. For the month, $5,000 round number was booked because at the time when we closed the books, the fuel reports were not complete. So that number will be adjusted once the money comes in. I believe it probably is slightly over $5,000 for the month. Our state capital maintenance has all been received. You can see that's at 100%. And the elderly and disabled, that was collected in January. For the month of September, we drew down $446,000 for federal operating CARES money, which would have been reimbursement for the August expenses. So year to date, we have received $3,154,000 from our $4 million grant. We received some investment income. Our sales tax revenue continues to be above budget for the year. We have $148,000 in a surplus from sales tax revenue, which we will be using probably going forward into 2021. For other revenues for the month, we sold a vehicle, LTV vehicle, and for the year we have received $136,000. We had originally budgeted a total of $70,000, so we are definitely above budget for other revenues. For expenses for the month of September, we should be at about 75% of the budget. As you can see over on the right side in column G on the screen. Let me scroll down. Here we go. And I misspoke. It's actually column I. You can see that all of the wage percentages are all under budget. Health insurance is just slightly over budget. We have had some larger claims this year, and we did increase our monthly allocation that we are paying to health tip to cover those self-insured claims. So for a total for wages and fringe benefits, we're at about 63% of the budget, well under what we had originally budgeted. As far as the other expenses, advertising is also below budget for this year, both advertising fees and the one down at the bottom, advertising promotion media. Those two line items add up to 33% of what the budget year to date would be. For capital maintenance services, we were slightly over budget for the month, but for the year we are under budget $72,000. This last month we had a generator issue that we had to fix, and that increased this line item slightly. Other services is under budget, fuel's under budget. The The only one that is over budget, and again, it's only $5,000 over budget for the year, is utilities. I believe that that has to do with the additional electricity that we are using for the CNG compressors. When we first started this, we just weren't sure about what the utilities were going to be for that, the additional electric, and we'll have a better idea for next year's budgeting, but it's still relatively close for not knowing for sure how it was going to come out. We have one more quarterly payment that we need to make for premium public liability. And so for the month, we had a surplus of $690,883. For the year, on an accrual basis right now, we have a surplus of $3.7 million. If you look at the very last column on the screen, it's column K. I have started to project what I think the totals or the actuals will be at the end of the year based on where we're at currently with September. And it got a little bit tricky because I've started working on the budget. So I'm trying to figure out where to budget if we hadn't been in a COVID situation. So this first number here, this 209, this number is only taking 7 months out of the year into consideration and not the 2 months that we didn't collect revenues. So we would have been at 209,000, where I think we actually will end up at the end of the year because of COVID is going to be around 164,000. So I kind of am looking at both things and getting ready for the budget, trying to project where we will be actual at the end of the year and, you know, where we would have been at least taking 2 months out because a lot of the revenues, you know, stopped for those 2 months in the summertime. And again, you can see here, we had not budgeted anything for the CARES grant. So that's an additional $4 million that we've been able to put in our budget or in our finances. That was unexpected at the time of budgeting. So I'm expecting to have a surplus of about $5 million at the end of the year. Again, though, this will remain to be seen as to where we go and how COVID continues and, you know, what expenses or what revenues we will be missing out towards the beginning of the year. Any questions on this report?
No.
Moving on to the next report is going to be our capital report. And at the top, you can see the $690,000 was carried over from the operating account or from the operating report. And then the next section here is the grant. And I want to be clear that these are the capital grants that we drew down. This does not have anything to do with the CARES grant. Mike, I wanted to talk to you about this because there was something that you said at the last board meeting that kind of combined the CARES money in with this money, and this is two separate pots, if you will, of money. These are an additional grants than our CARES grant. These would be state and federal capital draws. We drew down $10,000 for two support vehicles that we purchased, $13,000 on maintenance equipment. So row 17 and row 19, the state funds. These were matching funds to capital projects. So you can see right above that, there's maintenance equipment. That's the federal share. And we had drawn that down the 2 months before September. We drew down the remaining state matching funds for the storage facility. We did draw down some federal funds for the bus storage facility. We still have $1.5 million million plus the 165,000, which is $1.2 million remaining in the bus storage facility project, which we will not use it all for the current project that we're working on. I mentioned, I think last month, that our intent is to go out to bid next year and do some build outs inside of the storage facility to allow for additional storage and space, usable space inside the storage facility. The last draw that I did was for the validators that are in the buses. These are through the Easy Fare mobile app, where passengers can purchase fare on their phone, and then there's hardware inside the buses that validate that the fare is valid, and the passengers then can ride. This was through the OPT2 grant, and that project is now complete. Some expenditures, we only had one capital expenditure for this month, and that was the remaining invoice that we had. Well, we had some additional money left in this grant, and we went back through some earlier invoices when we had done some networking, and were able to identify some IT expenses that were allowable in this project, and we drew those down in order to use up all of the money. Over in column B, you can see that we did go over a little bit, $6,000 over the budget. That was in an effort of making sure we could spend all of our money down and using that additional IT invoice to be able to draw it all down. Under maintenance equipment, we did spend about $9,000 more than what was originally budgeted, but some of that was taken from the line above it through the support vehicles. I kind of combined the two of those. They're the same activity line item in the grant world, and I was able to combine those two line items and kind of offset each other. The other thing I did was I moved $1.5 million from into our restricted fund. This was excess funds that we had, and then looking forward to future years, future capital projects. So you will see over on the right-hand side, I've adjusted our restricted box, and there's now a total of $2.9 million in our restricted fund. I have started allocating the local match funds that we need for 2021, and then there's $1.6 million in future capital projects, which is all now part of restricted. Any questions?
Yeah, did we pick up about $700,000 from, let's see, I thought you said we had about $1.2 million in excess funds on the bus garage and wash bay projects. Did that increase from last month?
No, it's about $550,000 that we have additional on the bus storage facility. Did I understand your question correctly?
No, it wasn't a very well-worded question. Do we have then $550,000, and that's going to pay for the build outs that you spoke
Yes.
of, and also that training pad that we just read about in the newspaper? And
the training pad actually is 100% grant that we received from the 2021 state OPT2 grant, $400,000. It's 100% for the training pad. That does not include anything that we've just talked about.
Okay, so that's a moot issue then. Okay, that's all I have.
Anybody else? Okay, moving on to the next report, which is the statement of net position or the balance sheet, whichever you would like to call it. You can see our cash and cash equivalents decreased. Again, that was to move the $1.5 million into restricted. And our receivables have started to increase primarily because of the Kent State revenue. Here is our capital. Oh, I don't think I really mentioned that on the last one, did I? So on the last, never mind, I did. So the $21,000 for the validator invoice is now, you can see that in the variance in the computer hardware and software. So those two match in the property, facilities, and equipment section. And we paid all of our bills. Any questions on this report? Or PARTA at all, for that matter? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move on to the Kent Central Gateway. Okay, so for the month of September, we had a total of 5,996 cars that entered the parking deck. This was a 9% increase from August, so that's good. Things are trending up. We all know it's the same story that we're down about 50% from last year, both for the month and for the year. You can see our trending in the total cars per month is starting to climb back up, and nothing really has changed as far as the rate types that we collect. The majority of our parkers are the $1 and $2 parkers. The money that we get, the majority of our money is in the $3 section and in the $10 to $15 section, as well as green. Green would be the $5 section. And you can see this, this year, our stable monthly income really has been what's helping to get us through. You can see the green and the red lines. Green would be hotel and red would be the daily, which you can see from 19. That's pretty much where our deficit is coming from. So moving on to the financials for our income statement. We had a total of $25,000 recorded as revenues for this month. To look at last month, we had $29,000. In July, we had $30,000. So our revenues did go down primarily because of the monthly passes. Jamie and I have been looking at this to make sure that the monthly passes are being booked in the correct month. It looks like there's been some overlap, and some of the monthly invoices may have gotten booked in the wrong month. Just about an hour ago, Jamie indicated that potentially some of the September revenue may have gotten booked in the August revenue. So we're kind of still looking at that. For budgeting purposes, I will definitely be looking at the average. And just like in PARTA, I started projecting what things would look like at the end of the year, and then looking at what I think might look like next year, which is a little difficult. Going back to the other report, our salaries are under budget. All of our expenses combined are definitely under budget. We had another loss for the end of the month of $8,431. So year to date, our actual deficit is at $101,000. We really didn't have any big expenses except for personnel. So there's not much we can do about that. I am expecting by the end of the year that we will have a deficit of about $138,000. Going back to the summary report, we did have, so it was a little bit lower with the hotel this month. We had 745 validations. And really the average doesn't change or hasn't changed. Again, taking out April and May's numbers, we're looking at about $9 per validation, or an average of $7,000 a month for this year. Again, we had a deficit of $101,000. Our cost per car is $5.58 per car. And on average, we are getting for this month, we averaged about $3.89 per car in revenue. So again, we're still kind of upside down, but getting better. Any questions? All right, moving on then to the last report, which is the statement of net position. So again, our checking account just keeps going down. Our receivables did go up because we're getting some quarterly payments in for the final quarter of the year. Really nothing significant on this report. So I am available for any questions anybody has about anything. Microphone. Mike, I see your lips moving, but I can't hear you.
He's on mute.
Try that. I
There we
can't
go.
hear you, but I should be able for you to hear me. So,
I hear you now.
all right. I would just say that, we saw some improvement over time, and now we've kind of stabilized or maybe even dipped a little bit on the parking. And, the university's use of the system is definitely down, and it could go down even more through this winter months, depending on what numbers do overall. If Kent State is forced to go virtual, that would kind of hurt us also. So I guess, as we've said for the last 6 months or so, it kind of is what it is at this point. There's not a lot you can do. It's not as if you're not marketing correctly, or you're not, the buses aren't pulling people because they're not safe or anything like that. It's just this situation we're in currently. Okay. Rebecca, do you have anything else you wanted to throw out to the committee?
Only not on the reports, no.
Okay.
I want to point out, though, at the bottom of the agenda, we have already set the date for the budget meeting. It is at Thursday, which is the week before the board meeting, which is also early in the month, Thursday, November 12th at 3 o'clock. Please let me know as soon as possible if that is not good for any of you. That's typically when we've been meeting for the budget. I would expect it to be a couple hours. I will talk as fast as possible, but answer and give you as much reasoning as I have to make these future budget numbers.
Okay, so everybody check the date.
Rebecca, because of the nature of the budget meeting, is it possible to safely hold that at the PARTA office for the people who could go?
We did talk about that in light of what's going on with COVID and the fact that I am able to share my screen just like I would be able to do it if you were here. We feel that the safest way to do it would be to Zoom, but we did talk about it.
Does anybody have any questions for Rebecca? Hearing none, which I can't hear anyway, so that's, I'm going to assume hearing none. I have no resolutions that were sent for any discussion. Is there a need for an executive session of all? None known. All right, then at this point, I guess I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
I so moved.
Virginia first. Can I have a second?
Jeff Childers, a second that.
Thank you, Jeff. And all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. So we're adjourned, and I apologize. I'll have